As a beginner, colored pages can be quite intimidating. How do you pull out some of the colors? How do you make some of the areas pop? In this video, I'll share 5 easy tips to enhance your colored pages. We'll be working with 2 different coloring books, 2 different brands of colored pencils. Both of them are budget friendly, and then each book has different quality paper. I'll move through this much quicker than the coloring book with the Amazon quality paper, as that can be a little bit more tricky. As you can see here, it's kind of a basic color palette, and I mainly focused on coloring the outside area of the bee, because I wanted it to pop a little. And since it's a simple design, I added a darker tone around the edges of the bee to help it pop a bit. Tip number 1, use a blender marker or solvent. This paper handles solvent much easier than Amazon paper, but in this case, I'm going to use the Tombow water-based blender marker. As you can see here, around the flowers, it does help bring out the pigment to the surface, and it makes the Crayola pencils look even more vibrant. Tip number 2, use a blender pencil. Not to be confused with burnishing pencil, a blender pencil will smooth out the color by pushing down the tooth of the paper. This will reduce the visible grain on the paper, and it brings out more of the pigment, giving your page a more solid appearance. Tip number 3, water-based markers and colored pencil combo. Colored pencils and water-based markers make a great team, so think about things like Crayola fine tips or any of those. Whether you use a marker as the base layer or you use a pencil as the base layer, they blend beautifully and they can elevate your coloring. For this page, I already laid down the Crayola colored pencil, and now I'm adding a water-based marker over it to enhance the background. I'm using a pastel tone and layering similar marker shade on top of that pencil to add a soft blended look. I'll also use the same color on the wings to make sure that it looks a little bit more transparent and delicate. But later in this video on another coloring book, you'll notice that I'm going to start with the water-based marker and then I'll finish with a colored pencil, so that way you can see how both methods work. I am going to show you real quick how different it pops out the flowers too. And don't forget to experiment and report back in the comments if this helps you in some way. Number 4, use a gel pen or acrylic marker. This is a great way to make sure some of the elements pop. In this case, I'm using a white acrylic marker to highlight the flowers. And then we'll go over here and add a little white to the wings so it stands out a bit more. You don't have to stick with white though. You can also use a color that is a little bit more similar than what you're already using. By using a lighter tone, it does make the highlights more appealing. Number 5, use darker tones to add depth. Adding depth to areas can make your page feel more dimensional. I usually focus on elements I want to stand out the most, like in this case, the bee. This approach simplifies the process, and it's much more beginner friendly since you're only highlighting one element on the page. The line art here is already bold, so instead of using a black fine liner, I'm going to add a warm tone, like a dark brown pencil. It still adds contrast to the lower parts of the bee, but it allows the top area to come through more softly, creating a gentle finish. So that's a quick run through of the top 5 tips, but in the next session, I'll share even more tips on how to do space and water on Amazon quality paper. So let's check it out. So far I've colored this page here. I used the Hethrone water-based marker on the back, and this is kind of like a way of me doing base color. And then I kind of just went in with some Arteza colored pencils, the premium. Here's the pencils I used and the colors. They are the triangular, the budget-friendly premium pencils from Arteza. And then I used this so far, the Hethrone water-based black marker. Now, as you can see, there are streaks. So this is why I'm going to share 5 tips on how to enhance this page. I've laid colors and some shadows, left some lighting, like some white of the paper in certain areas. And then now we're just going to enhance it. And I will do some before and afters, so stick around. Tip number 1, get a water-based pen or some kind of solvent. That will kind of blend a lot of these colors. I will show some other tips on some blending, but let's start with this. I'm just going to go in with the water here, starting from light to dark, so I'll do the bottom after. Okay, now I'm going to go on the bottom. Bear in mind, this looks a little bit darker at the moment, but it'll dry a little bit lighter. It'll still be much darker than the original color though. I'm going to go in here with the water here too. So that is that. Let's go ahead and share the before and let's share the after. So this is a really good tip. There are multiple blender pens. I've tried, I think it's called Finesse. I've tried Derwent. I think I have a couple more, but I really like these because they're actually reasonably priced as well. The second tip is to use a blender pencil. Now, not to be confused with the burnishing pencil. Burnishing pencils, in my case, they seem to do horribly on Amazon paper, and this is Amazon paper. We're gonna go in with the ground on this. Once again, I'll share the before and after, and you be the judge on if you think it looks better. I am using circular motion. What this does is it basically presses down the tooth of the paper. So I could probably build up more color if I use Prismacolor, but some pencils won't let you keep applying more layers. Okay, we're gonna do a before and after, and let me know if you think that looks better. I'm gonna do the same now to the housing here. The only thing is if you have darker colors, pencil gets a little dark, you can basically use a sharpener. You can just kind of scribble it, it's fine. I'm going to go in with the air balloon around the edges first. I'm going to finish these ships real quick. These guys need something. They do not stand out at all, and I think I did that intentionally because I thought I'd burnish. Let me do them real quick. The next tip I can share is getting a acrylic pen. You could use whiteout if you're real careful, but whiteout has not been that great based on my experience. Now we are going to figure out areas that you want to sparkle a little. Oftentimes windows are something that I want to stick out a little just to look a little bit shinier. So any of these that look a little dark, we're going to go in and do some dots on some of these. I like to use burnt ochre yellow or like a deep yellow for windows, and then I sometimes will add brown in there. I feel like the white of these creatures' eyes could be better. Actually, I kind of like it with the white. You could do the fish if you wanted them to stand out a little better than what I did. On the top, do little dots around the scales, and that makes them shiny too. And then here's some, obviously you probably want to make sure this looks like a window and this looks like shiny. And then if you wanted to, you could do something around here just to make it look like light's hitting there. Light on their antennas, they stand out. We can make some of the porcupines a little stand out, and then just like put little dots. I could do more on this fin and stuff. How about that? Little on top, little on top. So yeah, you could just add little elements on different things that you want to stand out. The light often has light coming out of the thing, so I'm going to take away the line art here to make it look like it's actually coming out of it. Took away a little of the line art for that. You could put it on here to make these things stand out more. And then on the corners, sometimes that's shiny. Little left-sider. Sometimes I'll try to take away the line art, and I've noticed when I keep the line art, it looks a little better. So just kind of going around the line art to see if that'll help. You could also add some shiny elements to the rocks down here, just to add a little bit of character. And you're like, oh, what's that? You know, you kind of see little treasures down here. Of course, you could add it on the bubbles. I'm going to put it this way because the light's hitting from that. Kind of like I'm pretending that's kind of my light source right now anyway. And just so you know, the colors I used here were like a pink and a purple and I think a dark like ultramarine or something. And then as for these, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just adding elements. So I think I am going to go back in with the water-based marker because it's just fast and see what we get here. I did a brown color and the ultramarine color. I've talked about 3 tips so far. The 4th tip is a fine liner. And make sure it's not too fine. We've got a variety of leaves here I wanted to stand out. So you can go around just to make them look like leaves. And so I'm just going around to kind of add some depth to the leaves so they aren't like flat. And then I do go under the bottoms of the flowers sometimes. I will for this case because I want them to stand out a little. Then these crystals got a lot of light, so we're gonna bring a little darkness here. Yeah, I think that makes it stand out a little. I'm gonna give her some eyelashes. I'm gonna go down here now to the leaves and do just a little bit under the bottoms. Not doing too much, just adding a little bit so they kind of stand out a little too. That should be fine there. If I wanted to, I could go back in with some lightness on top. You don't really have to though. I think they're not the focus, so sometimes I have to realize that the focus really, to me, is everything happening up around here and possibly down here. That is number 4, is just going around and getting some liners done. I'm going to do a couple more things just to make it a little bit more darkness around certain areas that I would say have a lot of shadows. Like the ground here might have a little bit more shadows. And I'm kind of fine with it being kind of simple too. I don't have to have everything perfect on pages. It'd be nice, but it's not necessary. One thing that I would love to do is finish the backdrop. Number 5 is use the black marker as your base, or any color really, and then go over it with Prismacolor or some kind of creamy pencil that does really well on markers. All right, I probably have to sharpen a lot because it is a big backdrop, but we will see if you like it better. Just so you know what I did when I decided to color this, I decided to go in the direction of this ray. So that's why I'm fine with this being like this. Honestly, I could just live with this. But then I do think sometimes it just looks a little bit more solid of a backdrop. Of course, I'll be adding stars and stuff, but I wanted to share tip number 5 before I share my completed page, is just kind of filling in all the gaps that the marker missed. And I'm taking little circular motions. I'll do the right side, and that way you can kind of see the before and after. This is Amazon paper, so you have to work with it a little bit more, like it curls more too. I am doing firm pressure. I've had to sharpen it twice already. So there is the before and after. I'll finish this side real quick, and then we will see the before and after the enhancements. I'll be right back. So there's my tips. We are going to check out the before and after, and you decide if you think any of the changes were worth it. Before I go, let's get in some stars. The Illustrator has some beautiful stars in here, but I have noticed that any stars that are star-shaped often cause issues. So I just do kind of like asterisk in different spots, and then I do dots. That's just the fast go-to for me. I'm pretty basic. I will just do little starbursts in certain spots and call it a day. If I spend time on stuff, I tend to take too much time, and yeah, I just kind of go in with little dots. You could probably do pretty little baby stars, but I just go in with dots and just call it a day. I have gone in with different color dots before. I think that looks beautiful as well, but just trying to distract from the background. Sometimes when my backgrounds aren't beautiful, I just do the dots, and then I feel good about flipping through the book, really, because I like it to be simple. So that's one of my honorable mention hacks, is just not to stress about it. Get your base color down, whichever color it is, then go in with a very creamy pencil. You'll love the results with a creamy pencil over a water-based application of your background. It's just going to fill in all the little gaps that that marker didn't do. For Amazon paper, I just have found that it's just very useful for Amazon paper. I have tried other premium books and it does all right that way too. It's just if you have a lot of Amazon paper books, this has been very useful, especially the single-sided ones. This is single-sided, so you could do alcohol markers instead. But I am using up my different pens, so I hope you found this information beginner friendly and helpful. And if you like this video, you may like the next one. Thanks for watching.